I should do some sort of like set the scene here for how we even know each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. So I reached out to you because I just wanted to, I'm so interested in what you do. I've been following it so closely.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. The entire anti-aging industry as it's starting to evolve is fascinating to me. And then somehow one of the best to do it out of this country goes and gets involved in it. I'm so fucking fascinated by it. So I'm like, I'll throw a Hail Mary and see. And you told me that you've been following the page since back in the Facebook days, which is the most OG thing.
Very early. So when I first started following the page, me and my mates used to tag each other in your content. And we were like, we're not 28 yet, but this feels so relevant to us and our lifestyle and some of our weekend behavior. Yeah. Then at one point I was 28 and I was like, yes, I'm in the market. Now I'm 34. I'm still reading your content. I'm like, yeah, it's still relevant.
You're
for
actually
me.
following the bell curve because you get to, I found anyway, maybe I went early on the enhanced of my own games. I went way early. I might have gone at 24 trying to get myself enhanced and didn't quite enhance myself very much. I ended up one of those top heavy dudes in skinny jeans with RMs on and just fucking giant arms and pimples.
The Collins Street hero.
That's it.
Yeah, it's funny when I was talking to you, I was like, man, that content resonated with certainly me and my friendship group, and it goes across Australian cultures. So I grew up in Port Macquarie. It was relevant there. Then I moved to Sydney, very relevant. You're obviously down in Melbourne. We're all speaking the same language in different pockets throughout Australia.
It's nuts, isn't it?
All engaging in similar behaviours. But it's so funny how, even though as 28-year-old male, it's still so relevant to me today.
I think that's sort of why I'm never going to change it. It just has to stay 28.
I love it.
But let's talk about your last few years. So you've been retired, how long now?
About 7 years now, since 2018 Commonwealth Games was the last time I competed for Australia. Been busy in that time, but it feels like almost a different lifetime ago now.
Imagine it would. Is it sort of life before Hello Sports podcast? Is that how it happened? Like, did you?
Yeah, kind of. So the way it happened, I heard about enhanced games. I work for SEN and work in the media, do some TV and writing as well. And I heard about the concept of it. And I think, again, for your audience, I think every one of us at one point has sat at the pub and been like, imagine if these athletes could take anything. We see athletes getting caught all the time. It's rarely the best athletes. It's often those ones on the periphery. Shout out Yannick Sinner. He's probably kicked the trend there.
Lance had a good run.
Yeah, Lance had a decent crack. Marion Jones, she was all right.
Yeah, she was pretty
good. For the most part, particularly in swimming, you see it's the ones on the periphery often that are getting caught or testing positive. And we've all had that chat with our mates. Like, imagine how fast or how strong or how high could humans jump if they were allowed a full range of medical protocols or, steroids, whatever you want to call them. And so when I heard it the first time, I was like, ooh, that's interesting. Someone's actually going to have a crack at doing this. But it seemed like a bit of a pipe dream. I listened to some interviews with Aaron D'Souza, the founder. And
D'Souza, that's the name. I was trying to remember.
Who is originally from Melbourne as well. Yeah.
Aaron, if you're down there, I'd love to have a consultation with you at some point.
Yeah. And then I heard about it again. It must have been 9 months later. And this time they had all this funding. They'd raised, a couple of $1 billion in equity for the games. And suddenly it's becoming a reality. And I heard an interview again with Aaron. He's talking about we want to, redefine human potential. We want to break records. We want to do this. We want to do that. But they didn't have any athletes willing to sort of put their hand up and say, I'll do it. So that was in the back of my mind.
So it's stewing.
It's it's there. And I haven't really deeply thought about it, but it's there, and I'm curious. As most people who hear about it are. They're curious. The slightly different position is I have been a professional athlete and I have been close to those world records in the past. So it was kind of on my mind. And then Hello Sport called me out of the blue and just said, have you heard of it? And on the spot, while I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, how about this? If they give me $1 million, I'll come and break that world record for them. Slightly tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Went to sleep, didn't think about it. The Northern Hemisphere ticked over into their daytime while I'm in bed asleep. Woke up the next day and it was just pandemonium. And it was a bit of a before and after that podcast.
Jesus Christ.
And it wasn't little things. It was like New York Times, Washington Post, BBC News.
So someone must have just given this this snippet to someone who in PR world and gone bang.
I don't know who it was that was watching Hello Sports content. Maybe they have a bigger reach than even they realize. They're breaking worldwide news. But in the time that I went to sleep, the podcast released that afternoon, in the time that I went to sleep and woke up, it had gone worldwide, and Aaron D'Souza had come out and said, we will offer that $1 million to you to come on board and have a crack. So I had to make a quick decision.
All these questions in my head about had you done much around, in terms of research into, you were using a terminology for it in something else I was reading. I'm just going to say gear. Have you done much gear research prior to this or how it all works? Or?
I think like most people, I'd heard about it through the gym and training and stuff, but it had never been something that had interested me too much. I'd done my sporting career. I'd been a clean athlete through that. I'd raced against plenty of athletes that I knew at different times were using it. And it pissed me off a lot at times. But in saying that, I was never one of those people to come out publicly and say like, I refuse to race against these people or do this or do that. I was like, it happens. It's sport. To an extent, you go, all right, there's certain countries that just repeatedly break the rules, right?
Yep.
And we know who they are. And to an extent, you go, well, what are our options here? Do we say we're going to start a World War III over this? Or do we go, it is what it is type thing?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at it through the lens of you're doing it as ethically as I think you can possibly do it. Like, I think if you've been following for that long, you know my disdain for some forms of media and how it all sort of operates. But obviously in going back and having a look at your trajectory and how it's been reported on, I couldn't quite understand it. I'm looking for the thing that you've kind of done wrong here, but logic says there's nothing here. So is it the old powers that be kind of trying to undermine what you're doing in a sense?
I think there's a few things at play, right? So you start to understand, and I've worked in the media now for 7 years, so I understand the agendas and the things that go on. So, for example, if you were a media company who had the television rights for the Olympic Games, you may be more motivated to write negative articles about a potential competitor to the enhanced games. And that same publication may own newspapers and radio stations and wheel out figureheads who wear red bandanas to write articles.
He's far more prominent up here, Fitzsimmons. I said it, not you.
I don't think, honestly, I don't think he has that much relevance anymore. But the funny thing for me is, and I said to my partner and I said to my parents as soon as this happened, I said, look, there's going to be backlash. I've faced backlash throughout my career for different things at different times, and I've learned how to deal with it, which is just don't read anything. But the one thing that people always do is they'll send you articles. So they'll be like, did you see what so-and-so said about you, and send you the artiple? I'm like, how does that help? Like, I don't care.
That's the worst possible thing you can do. It's like rule number one.
Like if someone sent Peter Fitzsimons an article and said, hey, guess what James Magnussen thinks about you? He'd probably be like, oh, I don't care. And in that same fashion, I don't care what someone like Peter Fitzsimons thinks about me. He's of absolute zero relevance to me or my life or anyone I know. But people always send you the article saying, hey, Peter Fitzsimons.
You must be really interested in this as you're going.
You must really want to know what people think about you. So once you know the agendas, you understand why people are writing and saying certain things. I also think as time has gone on and the media has become purely about headlines, clickbait, and I know when I'm writing for the for News Corp or doing work for News Corp, I'm judged on how many clicks does my article get, How many subscriptions does News Corp get as a result of of reading my article? So the metrics are very clear, cut and dry. The more clicks, the more successful you are as a journalist. How do I get more clicks? Well, I write outrageous headlines. I write embellished stories, and I go for the really easy, cheap headlines. It's cheating. What about the children? It's disgraceful. What about reputation? Like they're really easy things. And if you say drugs in sport and go, it's cheating, that's a really easy headline, right? But I'm not racing against a clean athlete.
Well, there's the sort of things. Exactly right. Like I'm going misconceptions to sort of talk about everything you just reeled off then, and reading in some of those articles where it's what about the children? What about them? You're talking about. I've got full disclosure. I've actually I take the piss about going to the gym and jabbing trend in my ass and doing all that sort of stuff. And absolutely, I did that. It was a horrible thing to do. But this sort of trajectory I went on did that. Oh my God, I'm ruining my life and health, and went and saw a what are they called? Endocrinologist. Which is the best thing I've ever fucking did in my life. I went on testosterone replacement and completely off it now and just normal levels, but still keep looking at my bloods. And so I'm really fascinated with this stuff, and went down the path of using peptides and things like that as a substitute for that sort of stuff, and to get everything back in its place. I've never met a 9-year-old. Would you like to apologise to the 9-year-olds
who are thinking about getting on the gear and now they're just fully into it? It's funny. Things we do as athletes, and now I believe as a result of being a successful athlete, you do become a role model. But that's not to say that your lifestyle or what you do is to be copied by children. Like there's no way children in primary school could do the training that I did as an elite athlete anyway. Forget about performance enhancing drugs or anything like that. Just because I do what I do as an athlete doesn't mean you can emulate that lifestyle. And, that goes for sports like, say, UFC, Formula One. You think about like all the extreme Red Bull X Games and all that stuff. None of that stuff should be emulated by children. It's done by the top 1% in the world, and it's quite extreme by nature. And it's really not to be emulated because it's not safe. You remember when we used to watch WWE as kids and they said, this is performed by professionals. Do not try these moves at home.
And you go and proceed to break your brother's neck.
then go RKO your brother. But maybe they need that. Maybe I need to put a disclaimer before any content I put on Instagram now. This is done.
That's what you do, mate. You put the parental advisory on everything that they can't get.
This is done by professionals. Do not emulate this in your lounge room at home. Like a sport is to be aspired towards, but it's not to be emulated by children. That's just the way it is.
There's also another layer in that with the substances you go and use. When having a bit of knowledge of how it works in the background, it is not the same thing. It's not saying go and do what Hulk Hogan was doing in the 90s.
Correct.
He was jabbing whatever the guy at the gym gave him. But this is you don't have to say this, but I don't think it's controversial at all for anyone to see that when you get to this certain level and you can go and you're over 18 and you've done whatever you've done with your training and you decide that I want to go through a medical protocol. I think there's merit in doing that. Why not have that choice? And also, the type of things you're taking are not, I think, what the public would think you're taking. When you hear performance-enhancing drugs or whatever it is, you think trend. You think a bit of D-bol.
Really
he's just juiced himself up, losing his hair, and he's just going to be jacked. And it didn't help that you were fucking jacked when you got in that suit the other week.
Yeah, I think that right was look, for the games themselves, it was. And for me personally, it was probably a blessing and a curse. It got worldwide media attention because I looked the way I did. The thing with the protocols that I did and the difficult part about doing an enhancement protocol was there wasn't much, to an extent, there wasn't really any data or research done on elite athletes. Elite athletes have done this, but it's always been kept quiet. It's in the shadows, and it hasn't been documented openly and honestly. So most of the data or research around some of these things has often been done maybe more in the bodybuilding world or things like that. And so a person that's predisposed to being, for example, a person that's predisposed to being fast twitch or an explosive athlete will probably react differently to performance enhancements than a bodybuilder.
Right.
Because they're not known for being explosive, fast, jumpy, fast twitch athletes. They're strong by nature, but they're more of that sort of maybe more workhorse, anaerobic animal. So as soon as I started on some of these things, the first and most obvious result was I just started growing. Like and my body was just absorbing it, and I was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've now spent the last 3-4 months trying to lose all that muscle and get back to the shape of a swimmer, because we realized as a result of the process and again, it was kind of trial and error. Well, I was insanely big, yes, but I was also insanely strong in the gym at the same time. So it was like, will this work for swimming? We've never seen it before, so let's see what happens.
I don't know why I've got notes here, by the way.
Ultimately, and my opinion on it particularly was, I felt way too big to swim fast.
Did you find that that being strong after, like, you spend a life of being a pro athlete, and like, right at the top of it, and just pushing yourself to the very limit, and then you just have, and I imagine they're not huge doses either for what you're doing.
No, very moderate to low doses of anything I used.
So you get that instant, as you're saying, like, oh shit, I'm doing the same things I was doing, but fuck, my delts are looking pretty nice at the moment. Is there, in all honesty, was there like any period where you're like, maybe this is getting, should I back it off on the strength stuff? Or it'd be like an addictive feeling to have that much
really
progress
strange.
so fast.
It was really strange in that people ask, how did you feel during the process? And the strange thing, like, out of the water, I felt like a juggernaut. I was lifting so much heavier than I ever had before. I was recovering so much faster. I was eating clean, getting huge sleeps, recovering so well. So I was feeling amazing. But in the water, I was feeling heavy and a bit sluggish. And so we were trying to sort of taper off the weights. And the crazy thing was, my lats and my shoulders and my arms were getting bigger from swimming.
Yes, of course they were.
It was literally like that was the stimulus that was making my upper body bigger. So when you look at that picture in the suits, and I had like these double D tits hanging out of my back.
was that the super suit or whatever it is?
Yeah, that was when I had that super suit on. And that was the biggest size swimming suit we could find anywhere in the world. And it was probably still like 3 sizes too small. It was like cutting into my traps. But a lot of that size was actually coming from the swimming stimulus.
Yeah, right.
It
makes total sense when you say it now, with the repetitive nature of the stroke.
Yeah,
itself.
So you're using your lats and your shoulders every single stroke you take. And so as I'm getting bigger, I'm getting heavier, I'm pulling more weight through the water, I'm giving more stimulus to my lats and shoulders, and they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
How the hell do you stop that? It's kind of impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think that the plan next time will be almost, so I stopped taking anything and everything at the end of February. So we're sort of 4 or 5 months post that now.
Yep.
Been completely natural ever since, and I've got my body weight back to a place where I think is good for swimming. I want to lose even more weight again, I think. Yep. But looking at what I'll do next time, I'm talking about maybe even like micro-dosing things. Like, I was on a small dose previously. We're talking like even halve that again, like micro-dosing, and maybe trying to do some sort of wave loading where I'm doing maybe a bit more volume in the pool, longer, slower stuff.
Yep.
And then doing some periods of short, fast stuff without any protocols.
Right.
Trying not to get too big.
Well, this is that interesting thing again. There'd be so many people listening to this that have just either done it, whether it's just back in the day doing testosterone or trying out peptides, whatever it is, or now getting into anti-aging as a result of being curious in this. The dosages, that they are so much smaller than I think people
Yeah.
think, and
Yeah.
the nature with when people are doing things in secret. Oh well, I'll just do more.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing it under the guidance of a doctor, and like how important is that to have that medical profession?
Oh, huge. So
behind it?
I'd go to the doctor once a week, and that's where we'd sort of tinker with everything that they'd give me whatever I needed for that said week. We do weekly blood tests to check where my levels are at, monthly heart scans. I did a really in-depth testing before and after the protocol of liver function, kidney function, thyroid, my fertility levels, my natural testosterone levels and function. Again, heart scans. So basically checking every box to make sure there was no side effects that were going to affect me short, medium, or long term at any point during that whole process. And I've come away with it with a full bill of health, which I think to most people was surprising because there are so many negative connotations around that industry. But I think there is a place for this in the future, not only for athletes, maybe not even for athletes, but for your everyday person who is struggling with the effects of aging or stress or workload or family, kids, trying to juggle or balance life and struggling with libido, energy, vitality generally.
That's exactly what I'm looking at it and thinking. Like without it, like I'm watching your journey and watching you compete in a sport, but this is by design. By what's his name? D'Souza. I'm looking at it going, okay, maybe I can turn back the clock to 28 a little bit here, and maybe it's not all gone. And it is. It's not a hard sell.
No.
No one wants to feel as old as we do.
Yeah.
We all want to kind of feel better, but like even some of the stuff that peptides are opening the door to, and SARMs and all these different treatments and things. Like I was just talking to Ash about fertility stuff, even as you mentioned there. It's life-changing stuff. You can go back and go, and all you got to do is actually rip the Band-Aid off and get the blood tests in the first place and see what's going on.
You know what I think is hard for us as men, and it's probably even a more specific thing in Australia. We're by nature very stoic. We don't talk about problems. And we're not super curious about things like this historically. For women, when they hit menopause, they go on hormone replacement. As they start to look older, and I come from the eastern suburbs here in Sydney. I live in the eastern suburbs, so it's probably more prolific. But
no one ages out there.
No one ages. It's so common for women as they start to get older. They get Botox or filler or all these things because they don't want to age, and we don't even blink at it. We're like, that makes sense. But as men, our testosterone starts to drop. We don't talk about replacing it. We get older, slower, less energy, less libido, and we kind of suffer in silence. And historically, have always suffered in silence. It's just like, I'm getting older. I don't have the energy anymore. I can't get my kid out of the booster seat because I'm just getting old and I've got a bad back.
Soft, and just pick him up. It's
And that's kind of been the go. You get grey, you lose your hair, all these things have just been, that's part of being a man. But it doesn't have to be.
No.
We don't have to get old and slow and tired and grumpy. Maybe there's an alternative. And as a 34-year-old, I'm actually really excited about that prospect because having been an athlete, my whole identity was linked to being the fastest or the strongest or, things that are linked essentially with being young. And as I got into my 30s and well into my 30s now, I'm like, oof, as I get older, what is my identity if I'm no longer that young, fast, fit guy? And that's a daunting prospect for someone whose identity has been linked purely to their physicality.
How are you finding that now? That's an interesting one to talk about, that identity piece. Like as you're speaking, that logo off to my right just keeps staring at me. That is exactly what I've been parodying for however long it's been now. 8 years. So it's I take it to the absolute most extreme end of you're sitting there as you put it before, going, I'm getting a bit slower. I'm starting to feel sore. we'll take the joke all the way to on my deathbed and I'm
Yeah.
across the glass, all that sort of stuff, because that's what I'm feeling inside. Is
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to anyone about it
Yeah.
because they'll just tell me I'm soft. So I'll just joke about it as loudly as I can
Yeah.
on the internet. But and this is sort of the journey I'm going on with all this. And every time I talk to someone with a different story, different background, it just makes me feel a lot easier within my own identity to go, okay, I'm not alone here. We all do feel this thing.
Yeah.
That is getting older. But you talked about identity. How would you say it's sitting with you now? Is it still in that?
Yeah. Look, I think doing what I'm doing now and trying to forge a path in a new industry, which is really what I see. I don't even, at times I don't even see it as sport. It's like this new frontier where medicine and science are kind of combining with performance and entertainment, because I think it's going to be
That's how
really
I'm looking at it.
entertainment. Yeah, I think it's going to be really entertaining, particularly if we've got athletes swimming faster, running faster, lifting heavier than ever before. I find that entertaining, but knowing that they're doing it with the science and the medicine that is out there, that we've always been told is, to be frowned upon, putting that in the spotlight, I actually see it as a different industry. I personally don't see it as a competitor to an Olympics or a World Champs or a Commonwealth Games. Will it be in the future? Yeah, potentially. But for now, I see it as something more interesting, more exciting, more different than anything we've seen. So my identity now linking with that is I'm feeling really comfortable and confident in this new space. But when I retired from swimming and started to get further and further away from swimming, you do start to feel a sense of loss. I felt like almost a part of you has died.
Yeah.
And the thing that has really pissed me off that people have said about this enhanced games piece is, what about your reputation? And people are really strong on reputation, your legacy and things like that. Here's the truth as an athlete. You retire from sport, and for that first year, people remember what you did. They remember your name. They remember your results, your times, everything. For a year or two after that, depending on where you were in the sport, you might get gigs in media, you might get speaking gigs, you might do different bits and pieces. But as time goes, and depending on the code or the sport, you will be forgotten. The next generation will come through, and your reputation, so to speak, will just be some guy that used to swim in the past. There's kids out there now who weren't born when I was doing my thing. They have no idea who James Magnussen is. So when you talk about reputation, it's like, well, your reputation as an athlete is relevant for maybe 5 years. If you're a great of the sport, 10 years. But even then, we start to forget those players from our childhood, and you'll see some team lineups from when you're a kid, or the magazine that had the team lineups when you went to the game. And you go, oh, that's right, that guy from back then. So that piece to say, or for people to come out and say, how dare you do something else because you used to be great at what you did previously? It's like, well, you're not going to remember that in a couple of years' time. So who are you to tell me what I can and can't do with the rest of my life just because I was a swimmer 10 years ago?
There sounds like there's a lot of fear in that from people sort of.
Yeah. And the most common thing is people that say to you, what about your reputation? Are people without a reputation themselves.
That's sort of where I'm going here.
Yeah.
Is it this projecting thing? Do you get a sense that there's a bit of that when people start talking about legacy?
Big time. Legacy and reputation. And I think at times, and I think this is maybe a reason that I've been able to cope with this quite easily, is you can't take yourself too seriously in life. Like I'm an athlete, but I mean, I swim up and down a pool for someone with a stopwatch to compare to other people. Like, it's not that serious. I'm not curing cancer. I'm not doing anything that's really that important. I'm an athlete, and I kind of understand that. And I think sometimes people take themselves too seriously and say, you'll be remembered forever because you're a swimmer. It's like, yeah, like I was a swimmer and that was great. And I loved representing my country, but also I can do this other thing. I can also take the piss out of myself and have a laugh at times. I can look back on my career and the highs and lows and different things I've done and have a laugh at it. I mean, I did an ad leading into the Olympics for Pilot for erectile dysfunction medication because I can take the piss and have a laugh.
Yeah.
And And I think that's really important in life. And sometimes people take themselves a bit too seriously. Certainly people that sit on, talk show panels and work regularly in the media take themselves very seriously. And athletes at different points in their career take themselves very seriously. I know that looking back on my career, there were times when I certainly took myself very seriously and thought I was the most important person in the world. But that's all part of maturing and growing up. And I think it's also why I think it's really, really cool that the first enhanced athlete in history is Australian. Because I think as a culture, and it probably leads into this 28-year-old male thing, like us, those of us who speak this language are like, fuck yeah, that's cool. It's cool. It's different, but it's also kind of funny as well. It's like, fuck yeah, an Aussie's out there doing that. That's
I'm
mad.
so glad I'm hearing this from you, because that was exactly what I was hoping would come out of you.
Yeah.
There is that underpinning, like, yeah, fuck them.
Yeah.
When I'm listening to you talk about meaning the people that are telling you legacy, telling you all this stuff, if I could just be blunt, in my own experience, and then listening to that, it generally comes from a place. If I was in your position, which I could never be, then I would do it this way. And because you're not doing it this way, fuck you. Go back and toe the line.
Yeah.
And your legacy should be whatever we say it should be, and accept.
Yeah.
Who's to say that you don't? You talk about maybe it's not important and whatever, but I'd make the case for, if we're going into an enhanced games where you've got this whole new frontier of anti-aging playing out before the world, there might be something quite important that comes out of that. Where we kind of break through, I won't go too across the glass table with you, but there might be something that actually helps people enormously around the world in terms of actually.
I think, and it's an educated guess, this may end up being one of the biggest industries in the world, this anti-aging space. And I think for not only males, I think for every person, as you start to get older, you start to tussle with the thoughts of aging and what that looks like. And it is a difficult conversation or a difficult mental struggle that you start to wrestle with. And so I think some really cool stuff could come out of this. And I think the enhanced games could become a really great product. But with anything in life, when you're presented with opportunities, if you don't take them, the only thing you'll ever be left thinking at the end of the day is what if? And that's one thing with my life. Do I have regrets? I hate talking about regrets because I've fucked up a lot, and I know that. But in terms of regrets, one thing I'll know is at the end of my life, I'll look back and say, I never left anything to chance. Whatever opportunities I was presented with, I went for it. And I find that pretty exciting, to be honest.
And it's always, I'm ready to run. Brick wall, give me that suit. This also makes sense of why I'm seeing all these fucking 10-kilometer runs on your feet at the moment. I'm trying to follow your lead at the moment. I did have a crack at that one the other day. That's putrid what you're doing. So this is obviously to lose weight, as you were saying.
So pretty much, so they announced that the enhanced games will be in Vegas in May next year. Makes sense. Vegas, home of entertainment.
I'm coming, by the way. I'm absolutely coming to
the
those
after
things.
parties would be pretty exciting as well, I reckon. Once they announced the games and I sort of reverse engineered what I want my training to look like and stuff, the first thing I thought is, all right, the most important thing I think for the first part of my preparation is I need to get my body weight way down. So at my biggest, middle of the protocol when I was living over in America, I was 115 kilos at 6% body fat with veins coming out of my quads.
6% body fat.
Yeah, on a DEXA scan, so legit.
That is unbelievable. I want to see that scan.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just I don't think I could imagine. I think you're 6'6", are you?
Just under, 6'5.5". Yeah,
I reckon just 6'7" for the record. I don't think I've ever heard. I think I got down to 117, but the body fat, I was like, Jesus, I'm ripped. It was 12%.
Yeah,
I'm going. 6% is nothing.
6% is almost just about step on stage for a bodybuilding competition. And so I was like, that was just so big. It could have been a bodybuilder, a rugby league player, an NFL linebacker. It was too big. So
You
I got
always have the photos.
I
and the
always
memories.
have the yeah. I was talking to some guys in Enhanced the other night, and we are talking about the brand and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we were both of the opinion that that image from behind the blocks in the suit, regardless of what else I do in my life and my career, I think that would be the enduring image. Was, shaking the arms behind the blocks and stuff like that.
It's a GIF. It's not an image. It's
Yeah.
it has to have the wobble.
The amount of memes, like the funniest one that I saw was it was a meme. I don't know what the page was. It got like millions of views.
Yeah.
And it was me standing there shaking my arms, and it says something like, when you're about to jump in the slow lane and dominate Beryl, who's doing breaststroke beside you, or something like that.
It was what sometimes on the internet, like you obviously spend some time there.
Yeah.
I'll wake up and go, oh, fuck, everything in your feed is the one thing. That was one of those where it's like, I'm actually too late to the party here. I just need to sit back and enjoy the show.
Yeah, it was crazy. And same thing for me, because I'd clicked on a few of them, it popped into the algorithm. And my explore page on Instagram was all of me. It was really weird. It was like people were saying like, that's the muscliest thumb I've ever seen, or that guy looks like a veiny penis. Like
it was one of the biggest frames I think I've ever seen.
It was bizarre. Hey, it was bizarre. And the funny thing behind the behind closed doors, we were like, oh, we need to like stop putting in sides. Like, how do we avoid this? And then we got to the end of it and just went, imagine if we tried to get as big as possible. Like, what would happen there?
Well, you don't have to swim for your entirety of your new career.
Yeah.
You can just like swim for a little while, then go into weightlifting hand style.
Go Mr. Olympia.
So what does it sort of look like now, the training? So you've had, that was what just happened. I think how do I frame this? You had, what was that you were competing at? Was that wasn't
that was
main
basically
event?
just like an exhibition. We just sort of, we filmed a lot of content and stuff, released the documentary that's on YouTube for anyone that wants to watch it. And basically did a protocol, the first ever recorded, and just had a crack at a 53 to see where I was at in comparison to a world record. So we did that. I did that in North Carolina in the last week of February. So I got back to Australia in March, and since then basically have just been tracking slowly, chipping away at that weight, which is kind of hard because I'm trying to lose muscle. So that's not as fast as losing fat. Like I've had to really work hard at it. So for example, at the moment, I'm sort of running 2 or 3 times a week, at least 10K per run. I did 14K yesterday. Did the old Heartbreak Hill that's on the City to Surf loop. I'm swimming 6 times a week, trying to swim between 4 to 6K each time.
Yeah.
And then just doing really basic stuff in the gym, mostly like mobility and health stuff a couple of times a week.
You're sort of backing off the tools essentially for a little while.
Backing off the strength stuff for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
I basically, like, the numbers I was hitting in the gym
What were
were
you
just
getting to?
so unnecessary for swimming.
Yeah.
So like for chin-ups, I'd have 60 kilos hanging around my waist, sets of 3 to 5.
Jim.
Like just silly numbers. I was doing dumbbell bench with 120 pound dumbbells. So sort of maybe like 50 kilo dumbbells, pumping out sets of 10, like it was nothing.
That's bodybuilder stuff.
Bodybuilder stuff.
The
The numbers. Yeah. Squats. So I was doing full depth squats to a point, and then we started doing to a box or a seat because you don't get to that full depth off the dive on a dive. So for box squats, I was doing like 220 to 230 kilos for reps, easy.
It's pretty crazy that, and that's what I was sort of hinting at earlier with does that become a little bit addictive to like, shit, I think I just cracked 200 for the first time.
Yeah.
in my life.
That feeling is nice of the strength stuff. But actually, what was really cool about it is, I think every guy out there has always wanted to see how big can I get or how strong can I get? It's something inbuilt within us.
Absolutely it is.
And so now it feels like, to me, it's like, all right, tick that box. I've done it.
All right. So that's where you're at. You've done it.
Yeah. And I've done the strength stuff. I've done I saw what I look like there. It didn't work for swimming. And we have the data now to show that it didn't work for swimming, but I've done that bit. And now I can just focus on being the fastest person, the fastest athlete possible. And I was talking to one of my coaches about it the other day, and he's like, it's nice to hear that your mindset now is purely on swimming fast and not on anything else. Because he said, it's always hard with male swimmers. They are sought after physiques to an extent, but every athlete wants to get bigger and stronger, and it's definitely an inbuilt ego thing for men.
It is. I remember when I had my football career in the early days. Everything I joked about, by the way, is absolutely true. You to rock up to CQ, say, yeah, I'm on the list at Collingwood. No, you're not. Come on in, have a drink card. No, I am. Give me that. And blah, blah, blah. All that shit is absolutely true.
Yeah.
But pre-seasons and things like that. I was like 6'9", 79 kilos at this same height.
Wow.
And I was sort of all the way up to probably 18.
Yeah.
Playing basketball my whole life, got to a pretty high level with that, and just started going, no, I'm not going to be able to make it. So sabotaging the shit out of myself, and everyone else is starting to play football. So what do you do when you go play football? You think you got to get huge.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely wired. Like I just wanted to get as big, and all I started thinking about was, am I big enough to push and shove? When none of that actually mattered. If I stayed 79, I was this high.
Do you feel like as a tall person, because we're and as teenagers usually, because we're very tall, you are a bit innately gangly and stuff by nature, so you feel a bit more self-conscious, so you want to be bigger to fill out that frame?
Absolutely. That's I reckon that's also why I've got the worst back in the world, is I was constantly doing this and slouching and not sort of sticking the chest out and being proud of it. It was definitely something I was so tall so early. Did you grow early, or were you?
Yeah, so I think I hit this height when I was about 16.
Yep.
So I was always the tall kid. But yeah, it is awkward for tall people. And it wasn't until I sort of turned professional in swimming, and then everyone was super tall. You're like, oh, this is normal. But as a kid growing up, I was the tallest by like probably almost a foot in year 10.
I'll have to show you some photos of my primary school years. I went to a Steiner school, so no uniforms.
Yeah.
In primary school, I reckon I was like 6'3", 6'4".
Wow.
At grade 6, it was starting to really happen then.
Yeah.
There's like these camp photos where I'm in full, and I loved Wu-Tang and all this shit. I was in like a FUBU shirt, with one of those big Dada pants, and I was probably these same exact shoes that I'm wearing now, TNs. And I look like how did this guy get a job being the teacher
That's
of
hilarious.
this primary school?
I love that kit back then. I was talking to so my girlfriend went to a public school, so she had like full like strict uniform. But I was a Catholic school, but you could wear whatever shoes you wanted as long as they were black. Right. So I was telling her how I'd switch between like Etnies or Osiris or Human, and she was like, "What are those brands?" I was like, "Etnies, come on!"
I definitely had Etnies. I reckon I've still got a pair somewhere.
Yeah, they're mad.
They're making a resurgence. They're back.
They? Okay, I'll try and find my old Etnies.
I'm pretty sure they're back. Like they're selling off the shelves.
I guess they look a bit like a Nike Dunk.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah,
there was the Globes. Were the Globes the ones that just had all the unnecessary shit all over them?
Oh, they were all just big, thick, chunky. Yeah, it was mad. So when you say FUBU or Dada, I was right in that era.
I thought you were.
Yeah,
I have to recover some of these photos.
Yeah. The visor.
Yep, I had that.
Yeah.
Did you have the spiky hair too?
Yeah, spiking at the top of the visor.
New wave hair gel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hitting all the markers.
Solid, like hair so hard you could felt like concrete.
They had
good times.
I reckon they had a lid that one was that color pink, and then the other one was purple. And if you got the purple one, you could actually punch your hair, and it wouldn't, or it would shatter into pieces.
So good. You know what's funny? Like, is all slowly like all those things start coming. Like the baggy pants are back now. The biggest shoes are coming back. Like, yeah. That's all. I might be able to dust off some of that kit.
If you've still got it, it's you'll make a fortune on Depop.
Yeah, there'll be probably. I don't know what the version in Melbourne is, but it's probably like a Brunswick-ish type thing. Here in Sydney, it's like a Newtown, Marrickville, like you can all that stuff's
cool. So that's what your Brunswick is. Your Marrickville, Newtown.
Marrickville, Newtown.
I've always copped a lot of shit from people in Sydney about, hey, we need some character profiles from our neighbourhoods here.
Yeah,
so I need to understand this stuff. So Marrickville.
So my girlfriend's from Melbourne, so I've spent a fair bit of time down there. So I kind of understand it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think your Brunswick is like our Newtown. not far from where we are now.
Right.
A little bit hipstery, a little bit
Maybe we'll
grungy.
go for a walk down there later and just see
Yeah,
if we can find a nice,
see a few pairs of etnies.
nice almond latte and
Yeah.
a pair of etnies and a
Yeah.
sweater around the neck sort of setups.
That's it.
How did we get there? We went from we were talking about gangly growing up, and we went to Marrickville etnies and,
Yeah,
oat
so
milk
good.
lattes.
Yeah.
But so you're sorry. Back to the. I don't know why I'm treating this like a fucking 60 minutes interview about your training. When do you go to Vegas next? Like when do you kick back into? You are having a crack at the moment, but
Yeah, I'll probably head overseas again to do some training in the next month or so. I won't do any protocols again, any enhancements until next year.
right.
So I'm of the opinion, I think everyone within the setup is of the opinion, you don't need long periods on this stuff. It's almost like build yourself up to get to the top of your natural peak performance, like really get that base in, get all the work in naturally, and then it's just the cream on top to kind of push you to that next level. Particularly for me as at my age, because I'd had 6-7 years out of the sport. It felt like when I went over to the States and did that exhibition and did that swimming stuff, it all felt a bit rushed. It's like, oh, I've been out of the sport, but I'm getting straight back into having a crack straight at the world record.
Was it like scratching an itch? Like I need to just get a practice in here.
Yeah, it was really weird. I was overseas in France at the Olympics commentating and met up with a couple of the guys from the Enhanced Games, and I got chatting to them, and they're like, it looks like the games are going to be in 2026, and this was in August 2024. I was like, man, I've been connected to this thing for a while. Like, I want to do something. Like, I'm getting bored. I'm on the other side of the world in Australia. You guys are all over in New York. I was like, let's do something. Let's have a crack. Let's do a protocol. Like, let's get this thing moving. And they were like, yeah, we'd love it. Like, what a great idea. Like, let's use this to build publicity. Let's film a documentary. Let's link it to the announcement of when the games is going to be. Like, let's start to drum up some attention. And so I worked together with them on that project. So that was kind of why we did that back then. And I think it worked.
I think it was probably a good idea, regardless of anything. I mean, it was. That's sort of, as an onlooker looking in, it's like it was announced you're going to do it, and then there was a big gap.
Yeah.
It was probably the right time to go, hey, it's coming. And
Here's something, yeah. And also to show for other athletes that may have been watching or following it, hey, here's an athlete who's done it. Here's and if they want the medical data that, they could speak to me or to the guys in Enhanced. We've shown that it can be done safely, which I think was the biggest cause for trepidation in other athletes. So like, are there going to be side effects? Am I going to lose my hair? Am I going to get acne? Am I going to get a massive Adam's apple? Like people that they were.
That's all the usual stuff we worry about.
They were all the preconceived ideas, I think. And I think that's a product of people in gyms like taking bathtub trend over the years.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reputation that it had. So I think for other athletes who were sitting back watching that with curiosity, they probably saw that process, saw it finish, and then if they watch the documentary, they'll know that I didn't have any side effects, and it was a really enjoyable experience. This is legit. It is going to happen. It's inevitable. I think it was probably inevitable anyway, just because there's so much doping happening in sport these days, and certain sports, like professional sports in America, have kind of gone to private testing and don't release their results and very rarely ban athletes. Yeah.
This is fucking interesting.
So like your NBAs, your MLBs and your NFL all do private testing.
Right.
And UFC has gone the same way now. They've all got rid of USADA and WADA.
Right.
So they do their own private testing and very rarely release the results of that testing and pre-warn athletes or teams when they're going to test them. Which kind of makes sense because it's professional sport. Like it's a business now, and they want athletes who are bigger, faster, stronger.
Yep.
And they want athletes like LeBron James in his 40s looking like a 18-year-old, jumping higher, playing more games than ever.
Of course, he's never touched anything. LeBron.
Yeah.
He's only, what is he, 40 years old? And
Yeah,
just
40
flying
years
through it.
old and at his athletic peak.
And just sign again for another 2 years or something.
And which is super important for the NBA as a business, right? Without LeBron, they lose a lot of publicity and a lot of star power. So it's happening now in sport around the world. Maybe the last frontier was these Olympic sports. They were probably the first in that other countries have been doing it forever, but now professional sports are certainly delving into it a lot more. It's not public. It's not.
It looks like medicine's outpacing any form of testing anyway. Like being on I don't know if my old job, I don't know if I told you, I was like a player welfare manager at a football club. So under the WADA and ASADA sort of, I think we were just ASADA protocols and things. And you sit through those meetings and even from back when I was actually playing, it's like, fucking, my God, you're never going to catch it. Every year the list was growing and it it feels like you're kind of chasing your tail there.
Well, and the way a tests work, if you remember, like when we did science in school back in the day, like if you put this liquid into this beaker, it turns blue because it interacts with whatever, you know. So the only way you can test for substances is to basically know what you're looking for and compare it to that sample.
Right.
If there's a new drug or a new medicine that the testers don't know about, they can't possibly test for it. Which is why now, even this year, there's been a heap of positive tests come back from the London Olympics because they now know about these different substances that were being used back then, and all these athletes are popping for it now. 13 years later.
Really interesting crossroad, isn't it? It's an interesting intersection.
Yeah.
To ignore what's happening with enhanced.
So there's no doubt in my mind, and pretty much every athlete who is competing right now would know there's people there would have been people last year in Paris using substances that aren't yet known to the wider community or to the drug testing officials. So that they were knowingly using things during the Paris Olympics and they won't get caught for another decade. And in a decade's time, the person that maybe got silver or bronze, or in some cases, a person that didn't get a medal gets bumped right up to the gold medal. Nobody gives a shit 10 years later. There's no monetary reward. There's no sponsors who come back and say, hey, retrospectively, you actually, we're now going to pay you as an ambassador. Like, it's done, and that's frustrating for athletes. So,
I wonder if there's some middle ground at some point that might be reached. It sounds like it's obviously one of the oldest fucking institutions that exists in sport, Olympic sport. Is there a middle ground where it's live golfy sort of stuff? I mean, you look at live as an example. It just keeps coming into my head.
Yeah.
I'm a born again golf guy, by the way. I've played my life and decided I like it all of a sudden.
We're at that age now, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
I'm the same. I'm the same.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And we'll go and have a terrible hit after this. but like the first couple of years of that, to my knowledge, were just get away. We don't want anything to do with you. And blink your eyes, and they are in and of the same. Are they not in some sort of partnership?
Well, you know what I reckon would be epic at that first enhanced games next year, if they ran like a relay, enhanced athletes versus clean athletes or something like that. Like you took the top 4 from the Paris Olympics and then the top 4 from the enhanced games and race them in a relay against each other. Like, how well do these things work? Here's a comparison. I think the two can coexist, and hopefully. I mean, at the moment, the clean sport is very threatened by the enhanced games because they're offering a lot more financial benefit for that. But hopefully at some point there'll be a distinction where athletes are like, my body's breaking down or failing me, or I can't quite make this level naturally. Here is another option for me.
Yeah.
So I'm less inclined to cheat at an Olympic Games because there's an avenue for me where I don't have to cheat. I can go and do this openly and honestly, and there's another competition for me. And that would be really cool if the two could coexist. So you have your athletes who, again, for whatever reason, don't want to do enhancements, that they want to go that route of the Olympics. And to be honest, I would encourage most people to do that. If you can make the Olympic Games, go for it.
Absolutely.
But don't cheat to do it. Because now, if you want to do performance enhancements, you don't have to be sneaky or dodgy. There's another option for you. And I think if the two did coexist, one product is on TV once every 4 years. It's steeped in tradition. It's got that whole village aspect, which has got its own, mystique about it. It's its own product. The other one's on every year. People are swimming faster, jumping higher, lifting heavier, but we know they're doing performance enhancements, but it's this other really cool product. And the two go hand in hand. There's no reason for that to ultimately only be one or the other.
It's providing clearly another option post-career, but also like I can't imagine Olympic swimmers or any Olympic athletes are earning huge bucks unless you are right at the top.
Yeah.
So to actually provide any form of tangible income for the amount of training you do for 4 years. I mean, this story's been told a million times. To actually have some sort of financial
The
ability
Olympics
to earn.
may be one of the last organizations. I'm trying to think if it happens anywhere else. For example, right, like the NBA, I think they're up to almost 50-50 revenue share or something like that. Yeah, it may be 40-60. So players are getting a large piece of the pie. Our football codes here are slowly edging up, but we're nowhere near that. So Olympics is 100-0.
Is that right?
100-0. So you don't get paid to go to the Olympic Games. The IOC pays you nothing at any point. So is that the only sporting organization out there? It's like, in a way, it's a bit of a rort, right? Like whatever money they're making from sponsors, from TV rights, which would have to be huge.
Yes.
From ticketing, from governments who put money into to host the games and stuff like that, they redistribute $0 to athletes.
I didn't know that. I thought in my head it's just an assumption without any research at all. You go, okay, there's revenue, it comes back through the different countries and is distributed out to the athletes.
The International Olympic Committee pays athletes $0 and 0 cents.
I think South Park did an episode on this around college sports, and it was a slavery sort of thing. I think was the word they were looking for there, modern slavery.
Yeah, that was probably the other last frontier, right? Is NCAA sport, is college sport, where they were keeping all the revenue, but still the athletes got scholarships and stuff like that. And look, there are some trickle down benefits as a swimmer. You often your training is paid for or things like that, but.
You've given me enough of a nugget here. You know what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to go get fixated on this and really go hard.
Yeah, it's pretty strange, isn't it? As a model, as a concept, and you can imagine that the powers to be at these positions at the Olympic Committee, whether that be the International Olympic Committee, the Australian Olympic Committee, they're well-paying jobs. Someone's making money because there's money coming in. There's tickets sold. There's TV rights. There's these huge sponsorships. I mean, brands like Coca-Cola and McDonald's have built their entire brand off events like the Olympic Games. Those brands are synonymous with the Olympics. I found it really funny. These last few Olympics, the big sponsorships I keep seeing in Australia are McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Cadbury. And people are like, how dare you do performance enhancements? It's unhealthy. What about the children? And it's like, oh, what about the swimmers on the Cadbury ad?
Diving into a pool of dairy milk chocolate.
Yeah.
They get out and have a nice full strength Coke.
Yeah. But when you sit back and look at the Olympics like that, it's like, that is a strange setup where the athletes don't get paid and all the money goes into the organization.
Well, it does. It is modern slavery in a sense. And there'll be plenty of people listening going, shut up, bro. With that sort of entitled thing going on. But
the funniest thing I've had over my career that people have said to me, and it always pops up at like a nightclub or a bar or somewhere late at night. People will say to me, why aren't you training? Like, why don't it's Saturday night? It's like midnight. Like, it's my taxpayer money paying for you. You should be training. Like, your taxpayers, wow, okay.
Well, they should get as pissed off about it. That's fucking hilarious, by the way. Yeah, I love the my taxpayer argument.
Yeah, killer.
Taxpayer. We used to have to use it in, well, they still do in working in the charity space and trying to speak the language of people who wanted to fund. And why should you give us money for this? So you take all humanity off the table and go, now here's why. Clean needles you're gonna see less. You're gonna save money on this. If you just give them clean needles.
Yeah,
you're just gonna make a business case. To the tax.
As soon as and across the span of your Olympic or your swimming career, you might get across a 10-year period like $100,000 worth of government funding for different bits and pieces to go on this camp or do this or that. And if you're getting sponsors and doing well financially as a result of the sport, you're paying a lot more than that, probably tenfold that in actual tax over that same period. So you're probably paying for yourself essentially to do it.
My sister played wheelchair basketball, went to, which one was it? I'm going to get this right. Beijing, that's right. But so just sort of knowing a little bit about this in the background, the funding side of things, like, it's completely negated by everything you're doing. Usually you're at that level, you're kind of funding your own training as well. So anything you're getting is kind of negligible.
It's really madness. It's madness. But as soon as you say taxpayer money, people get this sense of entitlement over your career.
It's an interesting, like it circles back to what we were talking about right at the start. We can talk about the press coverage and all that sort of stuff. You had the glint in your eye I'm getting to know here. I share that same glint. You were hinting at something, and I reckon I know what it is. It's all interconnected, it sounds like. If you're essentially challenging people's positions at such a high level, whether you talk about the Olympic, people who are working in the Olympics, someone's getting paid. Yeah. Therefore, someone doesn't want that to be jeopardized or threatened by you going, hey, you don't have to do it this way. There's an alternative. I'm not saying throw it out. In fact, you come across as an advocate for clean sports, Olympic sports. You're not saying throw it all out.
Maybe even more so as a result of what I've seen and experienced now. I'd always heard that these things could, make you stronger, change your physique, change your recovery. I'd never experienced it. And sometimes when you hear about those things, you're like, yeah, sure, but it probably works within reason. When I felt the effects of those things, I was like, oh, well, if there is athletes using this to cheat the system, this is bullshit. Like, this stuff really fucking works. Like, it works really well. And now I know how well it works. I'm actually more pissed off that athletes are cheating and using this in Olympic sport, more so than ever.
The logic makes total sense.
Yeah. I'm more for clean sport now than I ever was before.
Yeah.
And I'm actually even more convinced now there needs to be an alternative to clean sport, because it's just bullshit that the athletes are cheating the system in these other codes or organizations.
Even, you won't say this, but this is just my own sort of thing as you're talking. I'd love to, when I talk about middle ground before, surely at some point the Olympics have to go, okay, we just can't fucking keep up with this. Is there a world where there's a different, the whole code, the WADA, SADA, all that sort of stuff is just looked at again through a different lens? Where we can actually just put our guns down.
I was thinking about this the other day. Probably the most interesting test case on this would be Tour de France. Now, I don't want to piss off cycling fans around the world, but I know a bit about this space. I know some people in the space, some doctors who have knowledge that we lent on during my process had worked in that cycling space as well. And we almost don't talk about it anymore. But when Lance Armstrong, when they found out about his results and stuff, they said, well, if we strip the title off him, we'd have to go down to about 47th or something in that race till we found a clean athlete who we could give the titles to. I think that was probably being kind. I think you might even have to go a bit deeper than that.
That's what I found fascinating about that whole thing.
Yeah.
Even back then, it's quite obvious.
Even back then.
Screaming about it.
And to think that now they're still doing those same feats of endurance and strength now. Like the fact that you can ride 180 Ks in a day, 14 kilometers of which is uphill at a 15-degree gradient, like that stuff is insane. And I watched that going, these guys are freak athletes. These guys are so impressive. I know that probably most of them aren't natural, but I don't care. They're doing things of incredible human feats of strength and endurance. And we've got to the point now, we found out what happened with Lance. We found out that pretty much everyone in the Tour de France was doing it. It wasn't run by individuals, it was run by teams and doctors. And they weren't really having any negative side effects that we know of either. But we kind of know that happened, and we've pretty much stopped talking about it with cycling now, as if like, oh, well, they must have stopped since then. But they're still doing the same times, if not better now. They're still doing these crazy feats. The stages haven't got shorter or less climbs. So the Tour de France has got to a point where we kind of accept it, and it hasn't changed it as a product. I still, of a night before I go to bed, I've been watching the Tour the last couple of weeks.
It's as popular as ever. And
Yeah.
I'd argue, like, even as you're saying, we don't talk about it. Maybe media don't, and maybe that comes back to, hey, we don't want this thing to go away. It's great. I think the public, if you asked any Joe Blow down the street, do you think doping's done in cycling? They go, no. Of course, everyone's. Did you see Lance?
Yeah,
it's sort of like out there openly.
We kind of know about it now, but we've stopped talking about it as an issue.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good test case in that it won't ruin a sport if it's not sort of broadcast as a big issue. If it kind of just goes that way, I don't know. But I was thinking about that the other night when I was watching the Tour. I was like, most likely every athlete in this Tour de France is using some kind of performance enhancement, but I don't care. I enjoy the product for what it is. I think it's a really cool, unique product, and I'm watching it, and I think most of us know that they're doing stuff, but we don't talk about it and we don't care. So maybe that is a good case study in what sport can be in the future.
At every footy club, you'll see there's like this theme that goes on. The domestique and all these things in cycling. There's always cycling analogies used. It's always on the walls. It just always gave me a bit of a grin looking around. Yeah, and it was always like, who's the hardest trainer? Who's the team person and all this sort of stuff.
You know, one stat I'll give you that was really interesting and cool during it. So you probably remember growing up you did in PE or whatever, they talk about like Lance Armstrong's resting heart rate and stuff.
What was it?
I think he was like maybe low 30s, high 20s resting heart rate. So my resting heart rate when I was at peak training living in the States was 28.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Measured on the Whoop, fits in perfectly with the branding.
I'm going to have to get a screenshot of that and just put it right in the middle of that logo.
Yeah, I think it's and again to the point of, you know, heart health and stuff like that. Not advocating that this stuff should be used or is necessary, but I've received some positive health benefits out of it, which was, you know, my heart health suddenly from someone who'd not been in elite sport for 7 years, it was back to, you know, the peak of its powers.
But when you say you don't, not advocating using this stuff, etc., is there a part of you like you can advocate to go and get your heart checked? To go and speak to someone who's working in this space. These are doctors, they are professionals. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I am advocating that if you're, you know, over 30, 35 or whatever it is, go and chat to a doc, ask them about it.
I hadn't done a blood test in 7 years to know what my testosterone levels were. Turns out they were pretty normal before I did the thing. I was kind of smack bang in what was normal for testosterone levels. But I hadn't tested them in 7 years since I'd been an athlete. I actually had to do a full health screening before I started the games. I started the protocols or anything. Like I said before, you know, heart, lungs, kidneys, liver, all these things. And there was a little bit of nervous energy for me when I got the test done, because I was like, oof, how is my body holding up?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been sick much, but, you know, I've definitely enjoyed life. I was like, how is my body holding up? What effects has sport or has life generally had on my body? And am I healthy? Because I actually don't know.
I did the same thing a couple of years ago. Did all the tests.
Scary, isn't it?
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
I didn't think, and there's a part of me that when I was just mucking around going, I'll do this, I'll inject that. So I didn't ever really want to know where I was at. I just was trying to
100%
avoid that.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
Yeah, because when you look at it and it stares you back in the face of this is where your health is at. This is a full picture of your health. It's like, okay, now I know what I need to improve or change or do anything like that. But as guys, most of us will wait until we're sick or wait until something goes wrong, and then you go to the doctor and they go, oh, you know, you've got this underlying issue that's been there for years, but you just never had a checkup.
And so, you may have found something at 60 when you finally go and get checked, and and people will come out and go, it validates not getting. So every time you go to the doctor, you get bad news. You probably would have had great news for the first 55 years of your life if you got in there and maybe got ahead of things. But,
it's a good lesson for all guys out there. Now, I've actually said to a few of my mates since I got back, hey, I'd never had any of this testing done, but you should probably go see a doctor and get this just to know where you're at.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably not a bad point, you know, in your mid 30s, your late 30s to know what's going on. underneath the skin.
And the most awkward thing you'll get to do is what I had to do, and have to go into a very dark room with a little cup and an old, quite seriously, an old DVD from the 90s and a remote. I'm not picking up that remote. But I did.
Get the blue light and scan that thing.
And there's your seat over there.
Oh, that's a full CSI crime scene in that room.
Cut your operation in the
Semen on
corner.
everything.
That's about as low as it gets, and that was all right.
Yeah.
I could hear someone on the other side of the wall breathing and watching Dr. Phil, but
that's
just
heavy.
go through it. We all have to do it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Mate, I'm mindful of the time. Thank you so much. For
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, I've been following the page for a long time. We're no longer 28-year-old males, but I still very much identify as a 28-year-old
I think that's
male.
the trick. We always are.
Yeah.
And we have that.
Yeah, I'll forever be 28.
Cheers. Thanks for coming on.